So you've probably seen the face-to-face ruck between Caleb Plant and Canelo yesterday. As a promoter, is that your worst nightmare? Because Caleb Plant has a cut under his eye, and that potentially could fuck things up, right?
Yeah, it's the best thing and the worst thing to happen. I mean, it's always great to have a little bit of beef between the fighters and a little bit of spite at the press conference, but it's never great that they start chinning each other in the head to head, especially when they get cut. But I think the cut's okay. I think it's not going to cause him too many problems, but it could have been a lot worse. I mean,
Yeah,
if that's above the eye and it opens up, you probably got to stop sparring. You won't be able to prepare, and then you got to put the fight back. So good and bad, really. But going to get a lot of people talking about the fight.
yeah, definitely. Have you ever had a face-off in the UK where something's come on top? I was thinking kind of Chisora White, where
Oh well, that was the worst one of all time. When he started, I had a couple of security guards standing behind Chisora, and I said to them, "Look, be ready because when Chisora's knee starts going up and down, he's about to go." And I saw his knee go, and I sort of looked to the security, and he stood up and grabbed the table, and I thought, "This is great. He's going to flip the table." But then he got his hands right underneath it, picked it up, and threw it at me, Adam Smith, and Dillian White, and he just completely lost the plot. So that was a wild one. Loads and loads of heads going in and
yeah,
swing and stuff like that. I haven't been chinned yet, which is a good thing. I think it's only a matter of time. And you guys and everybody listening to this will love it because I will go down like a sack of shit, once I get one on the chin. So trying to avoid that right now.
I'm a big fan of what you've done actually for boxing in the UK, especially. So I'd hate for that to happen, Eddie. So obviously this Saturday, AJ puts up his belts against Usyk at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. What made you think that White Hart Lane would be a great place for this fight to happen? Obviously, it's a massive stadium. It's it has everything you need to host a boxing bout, but there's so many other options in the UK. What was it about Spurs Stadium that attracted you?
Well, I think it is, all the things you just said there. It's a cutting edge stadium. And when it got built, our first reaction really is, well, we should do a fight there. I think the original plans to do the Pulev fight there pre-COVID were already in place. But we've done shows at Wembley. We've looked at the Emirates before, but this is the best stadium I think in the country. Not just saying that. I mean, I've been down there. I was at the Chelsea game at the weekend. I went to the press announcement there. Went there on Monday. It's phenomenal.
Yeah,
Phenomenal. The hospitality facilities. Every seat's a great seat. You've got the capacity, but you don't feel sort of alienated in your seat there, like you're a million miles away from the action. And I think that's important. Daniel Levy and the team at Tottenham were aggressive and they wanted to make sure that major events take place at the stadium. We did a great deal for everybody, and on we go.
I was going to ask about that in a second, but I might as well ask it now. Is it, like, what was that negotiation like? Did they reach out to you? Did Tottenham Hotspur reach out to Matchroom, or was it how did that happen? How did this conversation
I
start?
think when the stadium was built and they started to talk about doing major events, it's quite a small world in that respect. Like people that go in to Spurs to work, in bringing big events, have worked at Wembley before or worked at the O2, and everybody kind of knows each other. And I think it was a conversation with our chief executive from someone who said, look, we'd be keen to stage an AJ fight.
Yeah,
Obviously off the back of a lot of successful AJ fights at Wembley. And it was like, not just saying it, but you only have to go down there once and have a walk around and go, wow, this is some place. And that's what happened. We went down there and decided that we should give it a spin.
Did you deal directly with Daniel Levy, or was it someone else in his team?
Um, Sort of directly with Daniel in some aspects, but generally with the team who are responsible for bringing the big events there. Of course, we know he would always have the final say on the deal. He's someone that's very hands-on with the club. He's got vision for the club and for the stadium, and I think he was quite proactive to get the fight. He pushed hard with his team internally to try and make the deal, and he was happy with everything to proceed, and obviously gave it his blessing. And I'm sure he'll be there, proud as punch on Saturday night.
Yeah, 100%. How, in terms of like the financials, and I'm not sure you can answer this. I'm just going to ask it because this will be my one chance too. But how does this help Spurs? Like, do we get a cut of the ticket sales, or is it just you pay a fee? How does it work? Because I remember you mentioning a while back about potentially staging a Smith fight at Anfield. Yeah. But it was too expensive.
In many different ways is the answer. So when you do a big stadium deal, you can have a flat rental. You can work together on the upside of the bar or the hospitality or the ticket sales. Right. So there's definitely a mix of that. I don't think this is going to change the financial future of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. But what it is going to do, hopefully, is be financially successful for them, but also create a legacy for the club to say this fight, if we get a fight like Joshua Klitschko, that's always going to be remembered that was at Tottenham Stadium. And also, by the way, every sports fan in the world and every country in the world is going to be watching this fight from Tottenham Stadium. My dad did Eubank Watson at the old White Hart Lane 30 years ago, actually, yesterday. So we've got a little bit of legacy there.
Well, Bruno Buchner as well.
Yeah, well, that was his first ever fight.
Yeah.
So, you got those, and I always take the mickey out of him that I think 20,000 went to each of those, and I've got 70,000 coming on Saturday. So I'll remind him of that. But ironically, he was a Spurs fan as a kid. I did a little stint there as well.
Yeah, you had a season ticket, right? Or you borrowed a season ticket?
Well, someone, my dad did a deal with someone on something, and we ended up with 4 Spurs season tickets instead. Or as part of the deal, and he gave it to me, and I used to go down there with the fighters. They'd take me down there. I guess I was 15, so you're talking about 27 years ago. So I was there for about 4 seasons, and then after that we went on, and obviously my old man bought Leyton Orient, so I started going home and away to every game there, and obviously as that developed, we would do some work with Spurs, with Harry, and bringing young players in. I mean, Tom Carroll and Andros Townsend, and famously Harry Kane, who I actually saw the other day and reminded him that actually when you were at Orient, we didn't think you'd ever make it.
I don't think any of us did.
And he went back, and we were like, Andros Townsend, wow, he can play, he's rapid. But Harry Kane, what a lovely young man, but probably not going to cut the mustard, and goes on to be one of England's greatest ever strikers.
Indeed. We actually had a question from Ross, and he says, have you ever thought about becoming a football agent, given your work with Orient before? But like you've been so good at promoting boxing in the UK. Have you ever thought about football?
It's a good question, and the answer is yes, a lot. We got so much on across so many different sports at Matchroom, but and I hope any football agents listening to this don't take it the wrong way. I do see some football agents making an awful lot of money and think we are on another level to the way you operate. But it's a special talent. It's, we used to deal with agents all the time, Orient, and they were probably the bane of our life.
Really,
so I'm not sure I'd want to put a chairman through having to deal with me for a player. So we've had a couple of approaches to start up an agency in football, and back in the day, people don't know this actually, that my dad was a football agent for about 10 minutes.
Right.
So he started Matchroom Football, and then literally a day later, Dean Holdsworth and a few others he was representing, and then literally 2 days later, he bought Orient, and then had to close the whole thing down. So maybe, never say never, but right now, just sticking to what's on the agenda.
No, fair play. It's great news on that agenda that AJ signed with Matchroom again. I saw the press release earlier, and it's a fantastic thing, given the fact that you've like the rise of AJ. I know you did it with Froch and others before, but with AJ, it seemed to launch Matchroom and British boxing into a new stratosphere. But he has signed with Matchroom, but there was a period where it felt a bit odd because Matchroom had gone to DAZN. Joshua was still fighting on Sky, and I'm sure it was to do with his deal. But was there any period where you thought that you were going to lose AJ, that you was going to go somewhere else? Or?
Not really. I mean, our deal with DAZN doesn't include AJ, but it was a bit awkward because obviously, I don't think I'm top of the Christmas card list.
Yeah. What was that conversation like when you said, "Oh, I'm going to kind of go over to DAZN"? What was that like?
that conversation's ongoing, what AJ does. But,
Yeah.
I think that at the end of the day, it's business. And this is a tough sport for these guys. So they're going to be looking for the best deal that they can, and also the right partners. And we still have a good relationship with Sky across a number of our sports, obviously darts being the standout of that. But we had a massive opportunity with the Zone. Great platform, heavily invested in boxing globally. And it was good to secure AJ's signature for the rest of his career, because I didn't really doubt it. And I'm sure a handshake would have been enough, but really nice to actually get a contract signed and just say, look, we're in it together. We started together from the debut, and now we go on together to the end of his career, which could be 5 years, could be 7 years, who knows? But looking forward to being a part of it, and many more chapters, many more ups and downs to come.
Yeah, it's a better thing for boxing fans, I think, certainly UK boxing fans. And then you've got this fight on Saturday at Spurs Stadium against Usyk. And I think that there might be a perception against casual fans that Usyk's probably the easier option if you compare them to Wilder and Fury, but I absolutely disagree with that. What do you think about this fight going, towards Saturday? To me, if I was in your shoes, I'd be worried about what Usyk's going to bring. Not Usyk, so you're not worried, but
I am definitely worried.
Yeah,
I think that's a good word. And every second that gets closer to the fight, you get more and more worried. I mean, he is actually in a room right next to me right now doing some media obligations, Usyk, and he's an enigma. I think the scariest thing about Usyk is he has no fear. He's a bit wacky. He's not a nutter. He's not a violent, but he has a great mind, and he can figure things out, and he can work things out, but at the end of the day, as nervous as I get, I try and just tell myself, how exciting is this?
Yeah.
How great is it to put on a fight like this?
I'm buzzing for it.
The unified heavyweight world champion against the undisputed cruiserweight world champion. I mean, you're going back to Holyfield Bowe kind of era where that's like the dynamics between the two. And I think you're going to get a great fight. I do believe AJ will stop him. I think that it's going to be tricky and a tough fight, but I think that he'll get to him and he'll break him down, and he will hit too hard for him. But there's nothing on the resume of Alexander Usyk that shows that he's not been hurt before, really. He's not been out on his feet. He's not been close to defeat. So you just don't know, do you? I mean, he might go in there on Saturday and just put the performance. He's a pound for pound fighter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unquestionably. So he may just put a performance on that wows the world and wins. But that's cool, isn't it? And I think rather than worrying yourself like I do sometimes about it, I just think you say, do you know what? Just go and enjoy high level sport and soak it up and remember the occasion. And if we can get a win, even better. Yeah,
it's easy for us to do as fans. For me to watch it, that's exactly what I want to see on Saturday. But for you've got a vested interest in AJ doing well. And when the fight was made, I was like, that's fine. That's not a stepping stone. That's a ridiculous thing to say. But it's about that AJ can win because of his size and his power and his technique in recent years. And if he beats Usyk, then the world opens up for him again, as it has done previously. But what's the plan? Should AJ come through Usyk, and I hope he does, you've got Fury and Wilder there, and then is it more likely that he fights White next?
I think he goes into the undisputed fight. We've waited so long for that fight. If we keep putting obstacles in, if we keep, Fury keeps going for another fight or this fight, if AJ beats Usyk and Fury beats Wilder, no more messing around. Just make the fight. That's the ultimate fight. It's the undisputed fight. It's what AJ wants so badly. He's always wanted to be undisputed. The only good thing out of that fight being put on the back burner is you've got AJ Usyk out of it, which as it draws closer, it can never be as big a fight as AJ Fury, but it may be the biggest fight of AJ's career so far. And hopefully Fury can beat Wilder and those two can just get it on.
So if Fury doesn't beat Wilder, is that not something that can make...
if he doesn't beat Wilder, then we go after Wilder because it's the one belt. It's the one belt left. AJ has every other belt in the division. He just needs that one belt to be undisputed. So he would love to fight Fury, but he just wants that belt. To be crowned undisputed heavyweight world champion, it doesn't get any bigger. So that's the dream.
Okay, Eddie, I'm not going to keep you any longer. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And are there any more plans beyond this fight to fight at Spurs?
I think that the relationship's been great. I think the atmosphere on Saturday is going to be wild, and I think either way, I'm going to renew my season ticket. And but it was quite funny. I just when I was in the, I was luckily got an invite to the box or a box on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I was like a fanboy because it was all the players that I used to watch, right? Yeah. So Steve Sedgley was in there, Paul Allen was in there.
Oh, was that when you had your?
Even a little bit before my time with Mickey Hazard.
Yeah,
but
same.
When Klinsmann came to the club, that was really when I was there, and I remember going to I think it was Leeds to watch the Everton game in the semi-final of the Cup. Once when Gaz had done his knee. I was there, and I used to have this terrible ring, right? THFC on the ring. And even to this day, my mates still take the piss out of me about that ring. And when I went the other day, they all phoned me up and went, "Are you wearing your THFC ring?" You know, which I used to go around in at 16. So I've really enjoyed dealing with the club. And
good stuff.
Yeah, now we haven't got Orient anymore. I'll have to renew the season ticket, I think.
Fair play. Well, I was in the top of the Park Lane against Chelsea and watching them slap us, which is unfortunate. But I was sitting there as I was looking down at the centre circle where the ring's going to be, and I was thinking, actually, do you know what? This is a good view. This is this feels like a stadium that could host boxing bouts. So you
won't believe it when you see it on Saturday. You know how it will look. You'll think to yourself, is that really?
I know.
Is that really our gaff? And,
I'm really excited for it.
It's a big moment for Spurs fans as well. You know, I think it's really nice for the club to host such a historic sporting event. So
part of the reason why the stadium was built, it was to do these very things, and for it to be sport. I mean, a lot of Spurs fans out there were thinking like they were talking about Beyonce concerts and Jay-Z concerts, and that's one thing. But to have boxing, which is closely aligned with the football fan support, it knits nicely together. So I'm really happy that it's happening. It's a massive thing that AJ's fighting at our stadium, and hopefully he wins, and there'll be many more in the future. Thank you so much, Eddie.
Cheers, mate. Fingers crossed.
Cheers.